We have become accustomed to living in a world where humanity is the dominant species. There are simply no intelligent neighbors with whom we can share our intellectual achievements. But it turns out that for centuries, alternative forms of life have developed alongside humans, indirect evidence of which has only been discovered recently. When aliens are mentioned, the imagination invariably conjures stereotypical images. The Earth's horizon becomes crowded with flying saucers from which strange robots descend to the planet, destroying the remnants of civilization and turning Earth into a lifeless desert. But it is unwise to give in to such fantasies, as everything could be completely different. Guess a simple riddle. For a long time, it was considered a namesake of Earth. It is shrouded in thick sulfurous fog, as if wrapped in a veil of an unresolved mystery. In size and mass, it is practically identical to our planet. Yet, it is an entirely different world. Harsh, grotesque, and lifeless. Which planet are we talking about? Correct, the scorching, dead Venus. But is it really as lifeless as it seems? Due to its external and physical similarity, Venus was long classified as Earth's twin. Scientists were convinced that beneath its layer of clouds, fragrant paradisiacal gardens were flourishing and lakes shimmered with mirror-like surfaces. The illusions were shattered immediately after the probe tore into the deadly Venusian atmosphere. The first device to measure the surface temperature was the American Mariner 2 in 1962, which managed to take a close look at Venus. Shortly after, in 1965, the Soviet Venera 2 and Venera 3 reached the surface of Venus. But their electronics could not withstand the extreme conditions of the planet. However, a breakthrough is a breakthrough. The Soviet device became the first to land on the surface of Venus, and much of the information it gathered showed Earthlings what kind of hell their neighbor truly is. It turned out that the outwardly innocuous planet is a complete hell, with scorching heat of about 500 degrees Celsius, hurricane winds continuously blowing, torrents of concentrated sulfuric acid raining down, and pressure comparable to the depths of the Mariana Trench. Naturally, the device, designed with hypothetical Venusian oceans and pressure at a laughable 10 atmospheres in mind, was promptly crushed and incinerated before it could even reach the planet's surface. Since then, many significantly enhanced and modified probes have visited Venus, but none have lasted in this monstrous world for more than 2 hours. It seemed obvious that nothing could survive under such conditions. That is what scientists thought until recently. In September 2020, an international group of astronomers led by Jane Greaves held a press conference to announce sensational news to the world. On Venus, there is almost a 100% probability that life exists. The discovery, like many brilliant things, happened accidentally during the tests of the powerful JCMT telescope. It was then that phosphine, usually referred to as phosphine gas, was first detected in the spectral analysis of the cloud cover of Venus. This extremely toxic colorless gas does not occur under natural conditions. This means it is the result of some event or a product of biological activity. Perhaps phosphine arose from the numerous lightning strikes that sweep through the Venusian atmosphere. Or is it a sign of volcanic activity? Who knows? At first, astrophysicists adhered to the mentioned versions, but the amount of gas detected exceeded acceptable limits by tens of thousands of times, so scientists were perplexed about how to interpret such results. Do you think the astronomers immediately ran to announce the sensation to the world? Not at all. They doubted and decided to double-check the result. For the final test, they chose the ALMA Observatory, consisting of 45 telescopes located in the Atacama Desert in Chile. The outcome astonished everyone, as it was absolutely identical to the previous result. Does this mean that when looking at Venus, we see not just clouds, but a mass of billions of bacteria? So when should we expect an alien invasion? If we are indeed talking about microorganisms, then most likely not anytime soon. And now let's try to return tens of thousands of centuries back. It was during this time, according to scientists, that Venus resembled Earth. Its surface was covered by oceans, and the climate was mild and comfortable. However, a monstrous greenhouse effect gradually changed the picture of this distant world, turning the planet into a stifling desert so hot that even lead melts on its surface. At the same time, Astrobiologists have always suspected that during the favorable period of the heavenly body's development, some bacteria did manage to emerge and now continue to exist in the atmosphere. And finally, we have obtained direct evidence of this fact. It is no coincidence that the cloud layer situated at an altitude of 50–60 kilometers above the surface of Venus was chosen to study the spectral composition of the atmosphere. The clouds here consist of sulfurous gas, sometimes condensing into droplets of sulfuric acid. But the temperature conditions are quite acceptable. Not the hellish 400–500 degrees, but only +30. It was at this threshold that phosphorus hydride was discovered. When a line of phosphine appeared in the spectrum, astronomers were quite puzzled. Who or what could produce this gas in such large quantities? Scientists began to rule out possible versions and came to a definitive conclusion. Most likely, the origin of phosphine is bacterial. If we add the recently discovered glycine in the Venusian atmosphere, an amino acid involved in the formation of protein, forms of life, it becomes clear how little we know about our misty neighbor. But was anything similar found before? Yes, and even much more significant than the results of the activities of insignificant anaerobic bacteria. During the processing of old panoramic images of Venus, obtained by Soviet probes such as Venera 9 to Venera 14, scientists noticed strange objects and even assigned them names based on associations, such as scorpion or lizard. Under maximum magnification, they are clearly visible in the photos. Astronomers counted a total of 18 exotic beings. Notably, these can be distinctly differentiated from geological fragments of soil. Moreover, from image to image, the objects change their location. They could be life forms functioning based on biochemistry unknown to us. The first of these unknown creatures was spotted by Leonid Xenophomelidi in 2012. The doctor of physics and mathematics, while processing the images, concluded that he was dealing with biological objects, albeit moving extremely slowly. Then the scientist, consulting with colleagues from the Institute of Catalysis, suggested that these entities, living under high temperatures and monstrous pressure, bear no resemblance to earthly life. A different chemistry is involved in sustaining their vitality. Carbon is replaced by nitrogen. Therefore, the mentioned objects have no relation to the protein world. Many astronomers dispute the conclusions of Professor Xenophomelidi, claiming that the mentioned fragments do not move on their own. It's all due to the wind that constantly blows on the surface of Venus. However, not everyone agrees with this. Even accounting for the density of the planet's atmosphere, the wind speed cannot be considered sufficient to move objects of such size. Nevertheless, let's return to modern realities. Are scientists justified in believing that the clouds of Venus are teeming with bacteria? In fact, considering the exclusion of all possible alternatives, we can trust spectral analysis. Moreover, the phenomenon of the existence of life on Venus has been discussed for decades, including alternative biological forms concentrated specifically in the upper layers of the atmosphere. There have been repeated discussions about terraforming the planet, but almost never did the theories address its surface. Hypothetical colonies have invariably been placed in the clouds of Venus. So why couldn't local microbes live there? In the dense atmosphere, they are protected from ultraviolet radiation. Furthermore, the temperature regime is quite acceptable without extreme fluctuations. Only a space mission can confirm or refute this assumption. The nearest launch date is Venus D, set for 2026. However, it may be postponed for various reasons until 2031. One of the mission's top priorities is to search for life on the planet and in its surroundings. A balloon that will be launched into the cloud layer of Venus is planned to be equipped with a fluorescent microscope to capture protein compounds in atmospheric samples. And that's the whole sensation. No Dyson spheres, no Boltzmann brains, no Type 3 civilizations with their Laplace demon and journeys through the multiverse. Yet, the mere fact of the existence of any life forms on an absolutely inhospitable Venus is astonishing news.